Welcome back to the Bit of Business podcast. We're here talking to James from CMS. We're going to be talking about networking, effective networking. We're going to be talking about CMS, Causeway. We're going to be talking about BITA and really effective networking. So James, who are you? Where are you from? And what was it like growing up?
My name is James Horton, originally from Poole in Dorset, right down on the south coast of England. So if you look at the map of England, at the bottom, you've got the Isle of Wight, and above that is Poole Harbour. Well, above that is actually Southampton, but next to it is Poole Harbour. Poole Harbour is the second largest natural harbour in the world. It's a wonderful place. I had a lovely childhood, running around the beach, it was just a very nice childhood. And you sort of say to yourself, why did you want to leave that? And I think one of the things is you grow up somewhere and it's small and you want bigger. So I was born in Poole in Dorset, then moved to university in Hull. Well, actually, if we go back a stage, I was lucky enough, it was still the time when you could do the 11 plus. So I took the 11 plus, I passed the 11 plus. I went to a grammar school, Poole Grammar School. That gave me what I feel is a very good education, a very good grounding. Opened up a lot of doors for me. I then went off to university to study law, which I did in the northeast of England, in a place called Hull. I think the strap line was is never dull in Hull. I can tell you it can be dull in Hull, and it's not the warmest. It's right on the coast. The climate is there. It's it was an interesting place, but again, met a lot of good people. Then went down to London. Started off working down there. Really enjoyed the cut and thrust of London and the city, and everything being bigger. Then eventually moved up to Scotland and have been in Scotland for 20 years.
What was it about moving from what you would say was the country to the city? What was the big draw? Did you find that you were a big fish in a small pond?
No, I think one of the things is you look to, especially, we're going back to sort of 25 years now. So we're looking around the 2000s. And everyone was, you have to go and work in London. You have to go and work in London. You have to go and work in London. If I had my time again now, and as I do say to some of the junior members of my team, pick another city, go to Manchester, go somewhere else that is vibrant, that's starting out. And you look at Manchester now, and it's amazing compared with what it was 20 years ago. Belfast could be the same. Glasgow, unfortunately, is probably gone slightly the other way. But going back to your question, if I'm honest, it was the bright, shiny stuff. I look back at it now. And all I want to really do is move back. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
12 miles of golden sand. An easier pace of life. There are firms and businesses down there, but you always look at it through, well, I think you do, through rose-tinted spectacles. So whenever I go back home, I always imagine it will be like it was when I was growing up.
Yeah.
And it's not. Everything, unfortunately, is worn down. There has been investment in certain areas, but you go to the railway stations, the bus stations, the coach stations, they're tired. They're not as you think you remember them. And obviously that's part of having a very privileged upbringing in some ways, is that you only saw the good stuff. You didn't see what was actually there in plain sight. You didn't see it. So now I would go back in a heartbeat if I could, but I have welded myself to a certain extent in Scotland. I've cut my teeth there. I've been there 20 years. I've worked longer in Scotland than I have in London, anywhere else actually. It's been a whole chapter in itself. With Scotland has come the island piece. Because obviously the island to island is so close. We're 12 miles away, so it makes complete sense to try and do business here. I also feel that if you look at the demographic and the sort of your average person, business person, any person actually in Belfast and Glasgow, they're very similar. The cities have a similar feel. They're civic. People know more about you than you know about them, but you build that trust and they will help you. They really will. Whereas you can go to other cities, people will talk to you. They'll talk a good game. They'll say, yeah, I'll help you, but they don't. So really, going back again to the original question, I thought I was missing out on something. Having seen it, I probably was, but that was just a chapter in my life. And I think more and more as you get older, and obviously I'm now nearer 50 than 40. So life is about chapters, and the levers and the goals you had in your early 20s are completely different to the levers and values and goals you have in your 30s and your 40s. I much prefer working with people that are like-minded, but I also like a challenge. So if someone does come to me with a legal matter, then they're looking for funding, or it is a causeway matter and someone's looking for, do you know a business that could help here? I enjoy that.
So why law?
Again, I think it's important to be honest with all of these things. And to begin with, it was for two reasons. One, my sister went into law, so she is 10 years older than me, and very successful in what she does. And again, it was the shiny things. It was the concrete pencils, like Canary Wharf and just made of glass, and everyone was working in them. And yeah, the drivers were more the reward of it than I don't think, being a lawyer is no different than anyone else, any other sort of any other job, in that, you've got to do what you're asked to do. So you've got to deliver. My role now is more business development, generating contacts, making new contacts, maintaining client relationships, finding new client relationships, asking clients questions of how can we help them in different ways. Because an organization may need assistance with their lending, but they could also have corporate issues, they could have employment issues, they could have litigation issues. So it's all multifaceted.
And where did you start out in the law?
So I originally started out in the city of London.
No, but in what branch, like in what discipline of law did you start out?
So to begin with, that was shipping. It was a massive arbitration. At the time, it was one of the largest arbitrations that was going on. It was called the Solitaire, and we could have a whole podcast on that in itself. It was an amazing case. So I started out shipping. I then moved into trade finance. I then moved up to Scotland and worked for a corporate boutique firm in Scotland. And I now work for, and still am and have done for the last 15 years, with an international law firm called CMS. And we're based just next to Edinburgh Castle.
And you still do shipping?
So I wear two hats. So one side of me is dealing mostly with lenders, and they can be clearing banks or they can be alternative lenders. But more and more, those alternative lenders are now mainstream lenders, because the clearing banks don't have the appetite to lend in certain areas. And this has come about because of a number of reasons. But the main one was the financial crash in 2008. And then on the shipping side, I am the president of the Scottish Shipping Benevolent Association. So we are a charity that helps people that have worked shoreside in Scotland, and we give grants. We basically help people in whatever way we can when they've fallen on hard times. So that's one side of the shipping side. The other side is I do a lot with ship finance, and obviously you have to be quite careful how you pronounce that. So,
Of course.
but again, you know what I mean, a lot of things, it's because it's tangible. And I think, you know what I mean, if you look at all of this, we could even go back to your original question, you know what I mean? That all started out with the sea. And I see Poole Harbour, and seeing, you know what I mean, ships in Poole Harbour and in the bay and going across the channel. I think more and more people love to do work and work with things that are tangible.
Yeah.
So instead of just financing concrete pencils or houses, you know what I mean, a boat, it moves around, planes, you know what I mean. I do, I've done some asset finance plane work in my time. And it's a great community. And it's a small community. And obviously here we are today in Belfast, in the Titanic Hotel. And you know what I mean, this is steeped in shipping history. Also, when I was at university, I read Admiralty Law and Carriage of Goods by Sea, and it's just interesting. It's just the ship. You know what I mean? It's a bit like trains. You know what I mean? You grow up and, you know what I mean, you either like cars, trains, planes, you know what I mean? Mine is ships. So yeah, it's a varied work practice, but shipping is the sort of way that, you know what I mean, a lot of my work is at the moment. And later on this year, because of taking on the role of president of the Scottish Shipping Benevolent Association, I will have the opportunity to go down to London International Shipping Week and be on the sort of global stage. London International Shipping Week, for people that don't know, is a biannual event that is held obviously in London, as it says on the tin, but it is, you know what I mean, one of the largest global shipping events. So no, my passion, and always has been, is the water and ships.
And do you say?
I'd love to say, I was a great master mariner, and that's why I've got the bid and everything else. But no, look, I have sailed in the past. I mean, I've done some of my RYA tickets, and when I used to work down in London, we would go to something called Cows Week, which is nothing to do with the animals, but actually Cows is a place on the Isle of Wight, and they have a annual regatta, and basically you race around the island. So we'd be doing that on yachts, and also it's just a lot of fun. When I first moved up to Scotland, I did some sailing on the west coast, and they say that if you can sail the west coast of Scotland, you can sail anywhere. And you look at some of the conditions that you see, and it was frightening, some of the sailing I did. But again, you know what I mean, you've got to push yourself, and instead of just going, I don't know, down the Crinan Canal, you know what I mean, sail across, you know what I mean, from island to island. So no, I wish I had more time to do it, but unfortunately, we've only got so much time in the day.
Yeah. What was it like going up to Scotland and up to Edinburgh, not knowing anybody?
I saw it as a challenge, a new chapter. It was straight after the tube bombings in London, and I looked at that, and I actually lived at that time in South London on that tube line, and you know, you just sort of thought to yourself, actually, do I really want to live there? I mean, it wasn't running away. There was just another opportunity arose. I went up there, and there was a castle in the middle of the city, and I thought, this is nice. And some of that is novelty, but you know what I mean. Again, as we said, the ship and the sea playing a big part in my life. So is that castle. You know what I mean? I've worked next to that castle for the last 15 years and seen it every day. And it hasn't changed, but it's not changed in hundreds of years. But it was difficult. You know what I mean? I didn't, you know what I mean? I would have been, I don't know, mid-20s, and I didn't have a network. I didn't know anyone, and I probably did come up a little bit brash, English, rough around the edges, arrogant. I know best.
I was in London.
I was in London. The world revolves around London. That doesn't really wash when you come to Edinburgh, because Edinburgh is the capital city of Scotland. So yeah, we had to rub off some of the harder edges, and we did. And over time, I've generated a wonderful network, an amazing network of people. Again, you know what I mean? We don't have time to go into them all individually, but there are certain people that have really helped me, that have given me, that have let me do what I want to a certain extent, but they could see what the benefits of doing that are. And by that, I mean taking on board different clients, going down different rabbit holes for streams of work, etc. But no, to begin with, I knew nobody in Edinburgh, really. You get to know the people you work with. You then obviously get to know other, you know what I mean, the wider networks. But it was a long time before I really joined a business network to network more. Because when you're younger, you think you know everyone, but you don't. You just know everyone in your bracket, your age group. You're not going up and down the tree. And unfortunately, sometimes you're always going for the low-hanging fruit and the low-hanging contacts, the people that will pick up the phone, answer, go for a coffee. But more and more, you know what I mean, you help people, you get people to do things for you. You know what I mean, you do things for them, they help you. You know what I mean? It's never about direct reciprocation. It is about creating this sort of holistic network where if you do good things will happen.
Yeah.
And an example of that is today. You know what I mean? We're sat in the Titanic Hotel, and we had 60 people in that room. All the tables were full, and all of those people, or the majority of those people, had been contacted by me originally and said, "Can you come to this event? These are my ideas. This is what I'm looking to do." And obviously they said yes.
Yeah.
Then we had the storm, and we had to reschedule. So again, you have to ring up all these people again and sort of say, "Look, can you just keep that little bit of belief you had and come back?" And they did. And it was great to see so many people in a room that weren't communicating with me. They were communicating with each other.
Yeah.
They hadn't come to see you or I. They had come to see what it's all about.
And do you think that is like a key to good, effective business networking?
When you realize it's not all about you is when it works.
Yeah. Like when you actually go, look, you need to be selfless here. Like you can't be walking into a room, like, you know, a lot of people say nobody goes to business networking looking to buy anything.
Exactly.
Everyone goes to sell whatever they're selling, and when everyone's in a room trying to sell what they're selling, the heads get bumped together.
Of course they do. Of course they do. And there is nothing worse than seeing people with a stack of business cards and just dishing them out like they're the tickets in the Tesco counter, or, you know what I mean, you're in the supermarket and how they used to pull the 74, you know what I mean, come up, you know what I mean, get your meat, get your fish.
Yeah.
You know what I mean, you should have some business cards. You know what I mean? I love the QR codes on LinkedIn. I think they're great. You know what I mean? So when someone says to me, "Oh, I haven't got a business card," you know what I mean, you show them the QR code and they're like, "I didn't know that worked.
Yeah.
I didn't know we could do that." But there is a time as well, when it gives impact giving a business card, but also that first meeting isn't when you give that business card sometimes. That's when you say, "I'll drop you an email. You haven't got my email. I'll get your email." Because then you can show that you're getting that information from other people within your network.
Yeah.
Today was a great example. You know what I mean? We collaborated, Causeway, yourselves as Bitter, and the Growth Network to fill that room, and the room was filled. But those three entities came together as strategic partners to do that. And no one party was, you know, and we couldn't have done it without each other, is what I'm saying there. You know what I mean? All the parts make the whole. And I was talking to someone earlier, and they said, you know, I mean, how do you go about setting up, you know what I mean, all these different meetings and all all these different sort of chapters, and you're always here, you're there. And it's a bit like when someone says to you, how do you eat an elephant? One chunk at a time. You can eat it, but if you try and eat the whole thing at once, it'll get lost. It's a bit like a cat with a ball of wool. If someone shows you where the end is, it's very simple. If you try and find it yourself, you're gonna be there for hours and hours and hours. So I think to be an effective networker, you've got to be really, really selfless in that realize what you're actually there to do is join up the dots for other people. Then the business will come. Where I could have stood up there today and tried to sell legal services. Wouldn't have worked. Wouldn't have worked anyway. You know me. I'm already sort of fighting a losing battle in some fronts of being an Englishman living in Scotland, doing business in Ireland. You know what I mean? But again, it's a conversation piece. Wait, and when someone says to you, so how long have you been in Scotland? And you say 20 years, people say, that shows some good commitment, some good, you know what I mean, dogged behavior. And you know what I mean? I've been with the business I am at CMS for 15 years. It's loyalty. But I enjoy it. If I didn't enjoy it, I wouldn't do it. You know what I mean? There are plenty of other law firms, like there are plenty of other accountants, like there are plenty of other business networks, but it's a case of what is your unique selling point? And if you actually begin to realize your unique selling point is you selling basically other people together and joining people together. And don't get me wrong, when I started out, I used to think, right, I can take that guy out from that large organization, take him out for a coffee, and then within about 6 weeks, I'd have all the business. No, you know what I mean? It's a long, long road. You know what I mean? It's like nurturing a bonsai tree.
I think in professional services, people tend not to change their accountant, change their doctor, change their solicitor. They tend to go like, this is my one. I'm going to stay with this one. And then, you know, I think I found when I'm networking and, you know, like, yeah, how's your accountant? And they're like, they're terrible. They're like, you know, there are good accountants out there. No. And I find it even with myself when I'm talking to people and they go, oh, what are you doing? I'm a business coach. Yeah, we tried that before and it didn't work. And I go, I went to Spain once and it rained, but it didn't stop me going back to Spain. There are other days, there are other services out there. Do you think, how did you find Bitter? Or did Bitter find you?
How did I find Bitter? So I found Causeway 6 years ago. One of the other board members was within the CMS network. You know what I mean? He said to me, do you want to get involved in this? And it was a lot of fun. You know what I mean? There were a lot of great events. But again, you could see there were a lot of dots being joined and business being done. So I could see straight away that it would benefit me personally, you know what I mean, on a personal level, but also on a business level. Open up doors that, you know what I mean, we just couldn't open up. You know what I mean? Being invited into the Scottish Parliament and stuff, just, you know what I mean, access all areas and understanding where you live more. You know what I mean? How the Irish consulate works in Scotland. So I found Causeway. I was then asked by Bitter to basically bridge the gap between them. So I basically became a board member of Bitter. And I've also furthered that relationship now over time, and I'm on the non-exec board of Bitter. So that developed over a number of years. And then more and more, I realized as I was, you know what I mean, going up through the management board, the legal board of Causeway, the vice chair of Causeway, and now the chair of Causeway, the important part was Scotland. I know Scotland, I can sell Scotland, I know what goes on in Scotland. So this is where the collaboration piece works. And today is another great example of this, is there will be people in that room, and there's two meetings were set up off the back of this, where they want to do business in Scotland, but they don't know how to go about it. They can come into my offices, we can sit down, we can have an open chat about everything of what does your business do? What are you looking to do over here? And I can say, look, I can pull you into that network group. I can introduce you to these people that are members of Causeway. I can introduce you to these people I know.
What do you get out of it?
I get the satisfaction of meeting a hell of a lot of new people, and I enjoy people. I always have.
Life from even being a kid?
Yeah, I didn't know it when I was a kid, but I've never really enjoyed sitting behind a desk and just tapping a keyboard. These hands have never done anything real, but you know what I mean? The mind has done more. So I think what I enjoy being out and about. I've always enjoyed talking to people. And the thing is, the older you get, the more it's not about generating business sometimes. It's just about being a decent human being. And the only thing we can't stop is time. So if I'm giving someone my time, my full attention, my phone is not on the desk, it's in my pocket, it's in my bag, it's off, and I'm giving them half an hour of my time. I mean, that's precious time.
Yeah.
And you can get a lot out of it. Look, don't get me wrong. I do make, you mean, I have a LinkedIn account. I do push myself. You know what I mean? I do have a number of really good following. My music is eclectic, but I enjoy showing people that there is something else out there and that you shouldn't just be regarded as the accountant, the lawyer, the doctor.
Yeah.
If that job is the only thing that defines you, you need to have a really long, hard look in the mirror, because in 100 years, none of us are going to be around.
Yeah. What do you think they'll say about you?
He's calmed down a lot over the years. No, I think I would hope they'd say he was very generous with his time and he helps people. You know what I mean? I'm not looking for, you know what I mean? I'm not looking for any recognition of that other than just it's nice. It's nice sometimes when you ask people for feedback and they give it to you, because if you don't take it on board, you're just going to keep making the same mistakes again, or you're just going to keep doing the same thing again. So you've always got to reinvent yourself. And that doesn't mean completely changing everything.
Yeah.
It just means tweaking things. You know what I mean? Just a bit like sailing a boat. You know what I mean? You're going fast. You can go faster. Just trim the sails a bit. Learn how to sail the ship. You know what I mean? Understand the water. Understand all the variables around you. And also, don't be afraid. I think a lot of people don't enjoy networking or business development because they feel they get nothing out of it. And if the only thing you're doing is to try and get a lead, a deal, ultimately money, you're going down the wrong path to a certain extent. That is part of it, of course. Otherwise, you know what I mean? It's a bit like people when they say, "I'd make a great philanthropist. I just need the money." It's. I like to think now, I spend more time helping people than I do just, you know, basically cutting and shutting deals and, you know, making people money. I don't know what that long-term goal looks like, you know what I mean, where it takes me, you know what I mean.
Where do you think it'll take it?
I think eventually it could take me out of the law, or into a more leadership position. And that could be within a completely different organization, because sometimes if you take someone with, I don't know, 20 years experience in this or 5 years experience of that, and you put them in a completely different field, they work completely different to the other ants that are around.
Of course, yeah.
And also, as you get older, you know what I mean, you're less afraid to fail. You know what I mean? It's like, oh, I'm not jumping off that diving board. It's going to hurt. We'll jump off the smaller one. You jump off the smaller one, it doesn't hurt. You go up to the next one, doesn't hurt. You go up to the top one, it hurts. Right, we're not doing that one again. But I'm happy.
Well, I know my limit.
You know what I mean? It's about, and it's also about asking for help. So when someone says, "Can you do that?" If you can't do it, just tell them you can't do it. But I know someone that can.
Yeah.
And I think over time that has been one of my skills. Is people will ring me up and say, "James, I need your help with this," and I'm like, that's not my bag, but I know someone that can help you. So if you can just give me half an hour, 45 minutes, an hour to have a conversation, and then we can pull it together and then look at how I can help you, but I'm not helping you directly. You know what I mean? I don't know what the sort of the next chapter looks like, you know what I mean? And I think that's the exciting part of it.
Yeah.
It will involve ships. I can tell you that much, you know what I mean? If it was a landlocked job, you know what I mean, in I don't know, we could take anywhere, but you know what I mean, if you were somewhere and you were nowhere near natural water in the sea, I don't think I'd enjoy that. You know what I mean? And again, this sort of goes back to the childhood of growing up next to water. You know what I mean? My mum lived all her life probably only a couple of miles away from the sea. You know what I mean? She always enjoyed the sea. You know what I mean? God bless her soul. She, you know what I mean? She died last year, but she always, always, always enjoyed seeing the sea. And I always said to her, I said, if I take you away from the sea and make you live somewhere else, you wouldn't, you know, I mean, you wouldn't enjoy life. So everyone has something that makes them tick, that they enjoy. And sometimes you don't even realize, what makes you tick until you don't have it anymore. And by that, I mean, you know what I mean? When I was going back, you know what I mean, very regularly down to the south coast of England, and I mean, I still do. It sort of unlocks memories. It unlocks, you know what I mean?
Like a familiarity.
Yes. Yeah. You know what I mean? You know where you are.
Grounding.
Grounding, but it also, you know what I mean, it sounds very cliche, but it makes you feel safe.
Yeah.
And you know what I mean? I'm not any psychologist, and the psychologist would probably have a field day with me, but I think, you know what I mean, there is a lot to be said for your childhood. I think to a certain extent it does shape you, or it gives you opportunities. But again, it's a chapter of your life. And when you are a child, obviously you don't really have a lot of control in what you're doing. So that's where the parents come in and the importance of parenting. But even when you're starting out in the city as a 20-something, you've got no real control of what you're doing. You know, I mean, you're being asked to do a job, you're doing a job, and you're delivering. But then as you get further on, you start to think, actually, I enjoy that. I'm going to do more of that. And if, you know what I mean, the organization will allow you, then, you know what I mean, all people really want to do is see their employees flourish. And if someone is really good at something, then let them keep going at it. You know what I mean? And, you know what I mean, everyone is good at different things. You know what I mean? Some people are worker bees. Some people love being given a task. Some people love being given a problem. Solve that, and they will. I much prefer sort of trying things and then realizing the potential and benefits of them. And if you look at, you know what I mean, how far Causeway has come over, you know what I mean, it was created, or the inception was 2016. So, you know what I mean, we're coming up for 10 years. And I've probably been involved with Bitter properly, you know what I mean, really under the bonnet for the last 3 years. But it's opened up all sorts of different opportunities that would never have come about.
You find yourself having having conversations with people who you never thought you'd have a conversation with.
Well, I could say this conversation, you know what I mean? And that's the fun part of it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And I think, you know, I know for me and dealing with Beta and networking as well, because I'm an avid networker, I'm a big supporter of networker as well. Like, and you can see it in people, whether they're naturally affluent at it, right? Whether they have riches where they're just imparting and just introducing people left, right, and center. And I think you're kind of going, sometimes, I know for me, I end up in places where I think I don't belong here. I have no right to be having a conversation with this person or with that. And I find it very humbling, because it's only a result of what you put into it. And I think, like in all networking, you know, if you decided to not shave the edges off that London boy who went up and decided to stick to your guns, you probably wouldn't be as effective a networker.
Yeah, I think I'd probably just be one of those awful people in the London market that people thought,
Yeah.
So no, you have to, you basically, I think one of the arts to it is be yourself. But to be yourself, you've got to understand yourself.
Yeah.
And to understand yourself, you've got to live a bit. You've got to make some mistakes.
Yeah.
You've got to have some celebrations. You've got to have some highs. You've got to have some lows.
And it's like when you work with different bosses and you go, well, I liked what they did, but see that bit that they did, I'm not going to ever do that. If I ever get into that position, I'm not going to do that. And I find you're the same with parenting. You take what your dad did and what your mum did and go, well, I like that part. I'm going to do that, but I'm never going to do that to my kids. I will do that, and I'm going to insist on that type of thing. And it shapes you then as an individual. So
It does.
like, you're working in CMS, and as you said, from when you got there, they gave you a certain amount of leeway to do what was unusual for them, and it paid dividends. And because, well, look, this is working and this is working, and that's only as a result of, sometimes I think, if you're an Outlander, if you're a Boylander, and you're like, look, I see the world different to you.
Exactly.
And I don't mean, I mean, I'm bringing my shared experiences that I've had in my life, and I'm bringing them through your front door.
Yeah. And you're looking at the same picture through a different lens.
Yeah.
Or a different vantage point.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Those cranes out there, you can look at them one way, and then we could be stood down there and they look completely different. They're still cranes, but it is about a vantage point. And yeah, you know what I mean? I think my own, CMS have benefited, in the way that I cross sell. So traditionally, all I'd have been looking for is banking clients, borrowers, that want to develop and want to, need cash. Now, it could be corporate advice, it could be litigation, it could be employment, it could be renewables. So, if someone comes to me and says, I'm thinking about doing this, do you think we can help? I can't, but I know someone that can. Give me half an hour and we can set up a conversation. And also, like everything, it's about delivering. So if you say to someone, let's have a chat about that, set up a meeting. And look, these days it's so easy to have initial meetings on Teams, Zooms. And I know people love the face-to-face. So do I. I love to look people in the whites of the eyes and really, understand them as an individual. But as a starter for 10, instead of just having a phone call or a trail of emails, just put half an hour in a Zoom. It's a bit like when pre-pandemic, pre-crash, you just go out for a coffee with someone and you just chat. You wouldn't be selling it, you just chat, because you knew that person would tell you something that would be a nugget of gold. So I do believe in, and I've got Thursday, Friday this week, 3 or 4, just half an hours late in the afternoon, where I have met these people, but this is like the introductory call. Get to know them, they get to know me. And sometimes straight away they're like, actually, can you get someone to help us with this? And other times it's like, okay, I know who you are.
Yeah.
I know you're in Scotland. I know you're in Edinburgh. I know what your sort of appetite is. Just leave it and just leave it. Just leave it. But also, don't just leave it forever. You've got to periodically follow up. So I'm not saying on a weekly basis, how are you? You know what I mean? It starts to get a bit creepy when someone's emailing you at the same day of the week. But also, you know what I mean? Once a month, once a quarter, however they want to be contacted, contact them in that way. And also, the more you get to know someone, just pick up the phone as well.
Yeah.
Because I think there is an art we seem to have lost, and we're not teaching the younger generation, is just
Text them.
pick up the phone.
I ring them.
Yeah, and also, even I find myself now, WhatsApping people saying, I'm going to ring you in half an hour. I'd never have done that before the pandemic. I would have just rung them. They would probably had a withheld number as well. So I think we all do respect each other's time more, but you've got to be able to do the basics. You've got to be able to have a conversation with someone.
Yeah.
And I think that is one of the arts that a lot of people don't like about networking is, what am I going to talk about? Anything.
It could be anything.
And there will always be 6 degrees of separation that will be brought down to 2.
You'll know somebody.
There will always be someone. And we don't, and none of it even goes into where you were born, where you're from, what team do you support? It's never that. It's, oh, I know someone from there, or actually, you worked on that, and then it just shows, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Shared experiences.
Shared experiences, and also do your homework.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? A lot of people will set up a meeting and they won't look even at the person's LinkedIn profile or their business, and then say to them, so what do you do? What do you doing? Tell me. And you think, come on, do a bit of homework yourself. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Do the easy, get the low hanging fruit.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And have, if it is a big meeting, have a few conversation points and say, look, I know you're involved in this, and or even shared experiences. You know what I mean? Just find something so you can actually have a conversation with someone about something human before you get into the nuts and bolts.
Yeah.
Show people you are human.
Yeah.
Show them empathy. You know what I mean? It's, you see more and more, you know what I mean? You can give the example of people making coffee in a meeting. I'm not making coffee for someone, you know what I mean? I'm not paid to do that. I love making coffee for someone. It gives me the opportunity to show someone that I'm quite happy to do that.
Yeah. And find out a bit more about their personality too. Yeah.
And while I'm doing that, I can ask the really easy questions, because all I'm doing is making a coffee for you. And also remember, you need every cog in that machine to help you. So it's not just the CEOs and the top partners. You need the facilities team, you need your secretaries, you need your business development teams. You have to work as a tribe. If you just try and work on your own, and you know what I mean, you've got to give something back, and it's got to be genuine. So go and ask people how their day is. Just go and walk the floors. Go and talk to people. Take half an hour out and just talk to people.
Yeah.
So you'll know quite quickly the people that don't want to talk to you. You know, you can't. Not everyone's going to like you. The sooner you realise that in life, the better.
Yeah.
And you're not going to change their view quickly.
No.
But if you keep doing what you're doing really well, their view will change, because they'll realise how hard you're working at what you're doing. But
It's like I said, at the start, it's like, it's not what you know, it's who you know. And it used to, everyone you bring that up, it always has negative connotations. Like, oh, it's not what, or he got that job. Oh, it's not what you know, it's who you know. Like, but when you mature a bit and you're looking at business, you're going, it's not what you know, it's who you know. And when you're in networks like Causeway and like Beta, and you're turning around and going, do you know what? When I know someone who sponsors me in, it's a much easier conversation. You get a lot more buy-in, you get a lot more trust early, compared if they go, oh, yeah, do you know James Horton? You go, yeah, I do, yeah, I can introduce you tomorrow. Oh, fantastic, would you mind? No, he's very open to, like, as long as it's relevant to what he wants,
exactly.
we'll make that happen. What I really wanted to ask you is, listening to you, and it all been about the sea, and it all been about chips, and what you've learned, and going and law, and your sister, and because your sister and all that. And then going up with the chip on your shoulder and shaving that off and bringing it down to now. If you were to look back now to the young kid that was running on the 15 miles of beach, the 15 or 12? 12 miles of beach. Are you proud of yourself?
I am. You know what I mean? I felt it for probably a number of years, but I am happy in my own skin as I am, and who I present. I think more and more back to when I first started out, and you were going into these big shiny buildings and showing the personality that they wanted to see. You know what I mean? That sort of tough nose, you know what I mean, dogged work. I'll work all the hours God sends, you know what I mean? Just keep giving me the money, I'll do it. And more now, I'm selfish with my time. I'll give 110% to the people I want to give that time to. But that could be anyone. But I won't, you know what I mean? I also always used to be a yes man. Can you do this? Yes. Can you do this? Yes. Do you want to do this piece of work? Yes. You know what I mean? Can you help this client? Yes. Now I would say we could, but it's not really profitable. But I know someone that can help you. So in answer to your final question, yeah, I'm happy with myself.
No, I didn't ask you happy. I said, are you proud of yourself?
I am proud of myself. You know what I mean? I've come a long way from that boy that was running around on the sand, but I'd actually quite like to go back and run around on that sand now. But it's only been probably in, I don't know, the last few years that I've been completely sort of genuine with my personality and real, and not my personality, but the way I want to be perceived. And you know what I mean, there's no bullshit. It is what it is.
And no confidence in that, though, isn't it?
Yes, and I think when you can actually be yourself, people will believe in you a lot quicker and will understand. You know what I mean? We can all. It's a bit like a sniff test. We can all tell when there's something else going on here, or there's, you know what I mean, maybe a couple of untruths, or there's something in the background that we're not being told about this organization or this deal. So look, I am aged 47 years old, happy with where I am.
Well, listen, Jules, that's been good. It's great to find out more.
Really enjoyed it. Really enjoyed the show.
Thanks.
Thank you very much.